Alright, back to work on the Elite. If you saw last time, we did a whole front disc swap on this thing. And now she's got the disc front end, all the goodies. Make sure you watch that video. We got the double chrome johns on there now with the centerline wheels. This thing looks so different now. And we got a few more goodies to mess with today. So, I mentioned it before, but I'm going ZX pulley on here. So we got a ZX pulley in here. We got a belt for the ZX, which is obviously for the oversized pulley, and a new clutch spring to try out at S231. First things first, because I'm dying to see what this thing would look like. Going on with all the shiny goodies I've been putting on the Elite. I got like a black chrome rack, I guess you'd call it. It's like chrome, but it's more of like a darker chrome, black chrome. I think it's gonna set it off just enough. Dude, it looks so good. It adds just a little bit more to it. Man, this bike's looking good, man. I'm loving this thing. I want to have your attention here just for a second because it's time to celebrate. My favorite mobile game of all time is 3 years old this month. Raid Shadow Legends. You might have already heard about it, but let me tell you why there's never been a better time to dive in and start playing. One of my favorite things and most noticeable things about Raid is the fact that they are always updating. This game mode introduced a whole new world of new and terrifying bosses to slay. A lot of these characters are badass head to toe. They didn't forget to leave out the updates for the Hydra. This monster has multiple heads, each with a different ability and a different strategy to destroy it. But here's where it gets really challenging. Even if you manage to chop off one of the heads, another one grows to replace it. I think my most favorite thing about Raid is the fact that you are rewarded every day for playing Raid. Raid's celebrating its 3-year anniversary and it's amazing. They've got an insane amount of things in store. Raid's kicking things off with free gifts for everybody, then adding in a bunch of new content and events. And if you use my link or scan my QR code right here, new players will get a free starter pack worth almost $40 to kickstart your game. Mr. Record, Tiger Soul, and Romero. 10 Magic XP Brew, 10 Force XP Brew, and 10 Spirit XP Brew. There's seriously never been a better time to get started. All new and existing players get a bunch of free birthday gifts worth over $25. Once you're in the game, just enter the promo code 3YearsRaid to get your hands on everything. Simple. And it's that easy. Click the link in the description down below and I'll see you in the game. We got some NCY brake rotor bolts with like, I don't know what you'd call that color, but you know, neochrome I guess you'd say. Mostly because I was missing, but also mine are stripped and they're just some rusty ones. And yeah, I thought why not get some of these bad boys in there. Not much more that I actually could do to this thing. Motor's fully built, but it has some cheapy dumb carb on it, some Chinese Rep 28 mil carb. So the only other thing I might do is put a smart carb on this thing eventually because I really want to try a smart carb out. But gauge wise, I was thinking about doing a vapor, but I really like the simplicity of these gauges and how they're set up down here. And I like the stock cluster look. So I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, let's throw these on. Simple add-on, but looks pretty good. To that in there. Before we go ahead and throw all our fancy ZX stuff in, I'm gonna go ahead and give this thing a little ride right now with the stock pulley setup, stock S pulley, and I can't remember. I think I have a Kelly ramp plate in this. I'm pretty sure. I don't remember honestly. I get confused on what bike has what. Especially when I don't touch it for a little bit, and I haven't really touched the CVT setup in this for a while now. But it's windy. I'm gonna go do a little bit of cruising on this real quick and maybe be able to show you guys the difference. Alright, I'm gonna put my helmet on and we'll go cruise this thing and give it some stock pulley action. I haven't really rode it that much. I did a little bit of braking in since putting the new crank in, but I haven't really rode it much other than that, especially with the front end disc setup too. Only a couple rips up the street, so give this thing a proper test out right now. The front brake locks up so good it damn near does a stoppie. It literally does a stoppie. Wow. You can literally do a stoppie on it. That's that front end test, I guess. Make sure everything's bolted on right. Do a wheelie and see if something flies off. It's a ripper though with that full circle in. I think the valve stem hits on something when it goes around. The valve stem hits on the caliper. Yep, just like my old one did. The valve stem like hits on the caliper just as the rear one hits on the motor when you run a valve cap. Oh my. That thing feels good now, man. Riding against the wind, dude, is crucial right now. I can't even get a good test on it. See if you could tell. And I don't have the speedo working, so it's gonna be hard for you guys to really tell on where we see the difference in the pulley, especially with the drag on this wind I'm riding against right now. It makes it feel like the bike's half the speed. Maybe we'll go this way with it, but maybe just try to listen on how the bike shifts. You can hear it. Kind of runs out right there, right? When that clutch re-engages though, it's done. It's so windy. The Elite feels so good. Hopefully the Elite gets even better after doing this. So we got our ZX pulley. I think this is just an S23 little ZX pulley, which is pretty much just an oversized pulley for the Honda Elite. I'll show you guys the actual difference from the stock to this in a second when I pull the stock one out, but that's what we sit with that. Then we got ourselves a I want to say this is a 1500, so I want to say it's a 1500 RPM center spring, and then we have the Malosi ZX belt. This is just a longer belt because you have a longer pulley now, taller pulley. The belt has to be a little longer. The only mods besides just throwing this on that you will need to do to your scooter, if yours isn't done yet, is to actually grind away at some of the casing up here to be able to fit the pulley. Now by the looks of it, there is some marks on mine, and I got this case used from Chuck, so I take it he might have ran a ZX pulley at one time, and I think we'll be good on not having to grind off my case. But that's about the only thing I won't be showing you in this video, if that's the case, because I won't need to grind mine. You might have to grind away at some of that up there. But other than that, this thing is pretty straightforward. You just throw it on, obviously, the longer belt, and etc, etc. So you can't really tell, but there's different cuts in here. This cut is a bigger swoop, whereas this cut's more of a diagonal line right there. So the swoop is obviously going to have that type of shift effect. Easily going to like increase vary to all the way open up, which should shift really like fast. This one right here would be a smoother shift, which would be more gradual, which would like slide up, if you will. This one's a quick one. I'm kind of going to leave it as that, pack some more of that grease in there, get it in the grooves, and then slide this race back on. Alright, now we're going to take our clutch spring and our clutch and put it onto here. Pull off your kicker case cover. It's warm, very warm. Give a gist of my understanding of how this pulley even making a difference, or how like it technically shifts, etc, etc. So your belt's like this. Your belt's standard to be all the way in the top of the rear pulley sitting flush, right? And then when it's in the front pulley, therefore it'd be sitting at the smallest point like that. Well, when it shifts, this pulley opens up, the belt sinks in it, which therefore it gets bigger on this side. Now if you think about a bike or a BMX bike, your front sprocket's always bigger than your back sprocket. And if you were to be on a mountain bike and you put it to a setting or like a 10-speed where the back sprocket's bigger than the front, you'll be pedaling like a million miles per hour. That's because of the low gearing. So when you start off, you're gonna have that low gearing where it's like this. Smaller in the front, bigger in the back. Once it starts going, it opens up in the front, and then the clutch will shift like this, where the belt will go all the way down, and it gets smaller like a BMX bike, like I said. So I'm gonna go ahead and swap this clutch spring onto here, put the clutch onto here, etc, etc. Alright, there we got our ZX pulley now with our Pulley adjustable clutch, which I have in my Pulley clutch right now. The yellow springs as well. I don't know if you can see in there, and they're maxed out. I do need new springs coming up. So, crack open this MOPBOYZ belt. A lot thicker than the stock one. Stock belt, MOPBOYZ belt. A lot thicker, different grooves in the teeth, a lot more spaced out, and obviously a little bit longer too. The one thing you'll notice about the ZX Pulley is how many shims you have to run because that belt is so fat to be able to make it fit up in the front variator. And I still can't get it to get good belt fit. I need more shims. Clean out of shims, so I'll probably have to order some of those. Another issue you might run into when you do this is because you have to shim so much that eventually your drive face will hit into your kicker case, and then you have to get what we call is a kicker case spacer from Scooter Swap Shop. And here's the situation you'll run into if you don't use this spacer right here, because you have to shim out your pulley so much for the fatter belt. On your flywheel, gets stuck. See that? Let's take your fancy spacer. Alright, so I didn't like how it just felt at all. Maybe that pulley, how I set it up with the steeper incline, is just shifting way too fast, and it's just like the bike just pretty much just does nothing. So it's like a quick rev and then it just dies off and does nothing. Also, I still could shim it more, as you can see. I just literally don't have any more shims. I have like 2 packs of shims in there right now, trying to shim it out. So maybe I could fit this one, this copper washer I found. If that fits as a shim, that might just be just enough because it's a little thicker. But I could still get a lot more belt fitment out of the back. But I think I'm going to change that pulley to get it out of the quick shifting one. I think it's like falling right out of the band because it just over revs right away. The belt fitment's a lot better this time. As you can see with all the shims in. Still could go a little bit more, but let's give this a try. Maybe the weights want to change now. Since the pulley's longer, it could be opening up. The rollers could be going all the way out too fast, maybe. Feels better on bottom though, that's for sure. See, it punches hard right there, and then it just like over revs almost. We'll try it again. Alright, so this time we changed the shift pattern on the actual rear pulley. I think the rollers are too light. That actually feels pretty damn good now. Oh, dude, that's actually super good now. got a good bottom end and top end right there. Yeah, with the longer shift, you can really feel it. I still think I can go a little heavier on the rollers and get a little bit more out of the top end, but I don't want to take away too much of my bottom end. Yeah, see, I don't think I want to take more of that bottom end away. Dude, the bottom end on this ZX pulley feels good though. That's a good... Alright boys, well the ZX pulley swap is complete. We got the spacer and the kicker, which is a necessity. I forgot to mention that at the beginning of this video, but if you watched this far you'd know. ZX pulley's on there. Belt fitment is looking pretty damn good. I'm going to order another set of shims since I don't have any more washers that'll physically work in my garage. If I had like 2 more shims in there and got that belt completely flush at the top of the pulley, I'd get the maximum out of my bottom end. Because remember, when it's the bigger on the back, it's going to be your bottom end. When it transfers, it goes to the top end. So there's other videos that go more in detail on CVT tuning if you want to learn more about that. This was more just comparing the stock to the ZX pulley on what it would make a difference. But to completely understand CVT tuning, I believe Scooter Swap Shop has a video from a while ago. This thing's set up so nice right now. It's really feeling the best it's ever has. Wheelie wise and just throttle response wise, I'm super happy with it. It feels super good on the bottom end with the new full circle crank in there, but I probably will end up upping the rollers a little bit, I think, on the weight, just to get a little bit less of that rev that's going on and a little bit more out of the top end, because it is revving a lot, but man, does it feel good for the wheelies right now. It's super snappy. Front brake feels good. As you've seen, it does literally endos on it. I've never had a front brake work so good. It actually did an endo, and also it's because probably the stiffer front shocks that are in it, because on the stock pre-bug ones, if you pull that front brake, your suspension like almost bounces. My mirror came loose, boys. That crosswind is crucial. I had the lighter rollers in there because that's the setup I was trying on that S23 pipe. And that pipe likes real light rollers. Just rolled up to the post office to drop some parts off for the homie on that Zuma part out, and now we on the way, boys. Front brake feels good. Crank feels so good in this thing. The new motor mounts feel amazing. This is like my first real ride since I rebuilt it. I'm stoked, dude. This thing feels solid. I think that's going to do it for the Elite. Hopefully that gave you some knowledge on the ZX and maybe helped you if you were looking to do that yourself. But that's going to do it for this one. Elite's feeling good. I'll see you in the next one.